DLC thing relating to some of the old games. They're going to be decommissioned exactly 1 month from now of this recording, which is August 1st, 2022. On September 1st, 2022, a bunch of games are going to be added to the Ubisoft decommissions list, which will mean that the online component will be discontinued from these games. Now, you will still be able to play the single player, but one of the huge controversies is you will no longer be able to access or even download the DLC that you have probably paid for or bought, even if it's single player DLC, as you know, since DLC is considered a online component. And this has led to a lot of backlash in the Ubisoft community. There's been many forums talking about how this is an act of digital theft, and it's become like a whole meme culture thing. There's a whole meme about it, Reddit's, and also another thing is people are review bombing a lot of the Ubisoft classics on Steam, like for example AC3, which you'll see some of the reviews appear on the stage right now. As you can see, these are just some of the most popular reviews. See the one made by Zipole. 74 people found it really helpful, 3 people found it funny, received 1 award. The list goes on and on and on. I also posted some negative reviews because, personally, one of the games that's being decommissioned is AC3 Remastered, which is one of my favorite games of all time. I've played that game ever since I was since I was a young child. I'm 19 now, and that was one of the first major games I ever played. And I believe it was the first AC game I beat, and I still play it from time to time a lot. And, the fact that ever since I got it whenever I bought AC Odyssey, Odyssey, which I actually just beat like a few days ago, which is pretty sweet. Just beat a few days ago. The family. I haven't beat the Fate of Atlantis or the Legacy of the First Blade DLC yet, but I do plan on doing that. Let me know if you'd like to see me do a full playthrough of that, or if you'd like me to start a new playthrough of AC Odyssey for you guys here on the channel, and show you how to get the best ending in the game, which is where all your family is together. Anyway, back to topic, but this whole Ubisoft thing has been extremely controversial since the day it was announced, and to be honest, I do understand, why it's looked so down upon. A lot of people feel, in a way, it is digital theft, which, of course there's a whole thing about an argument people are making in the comments of everything, where it's like, oh, it's in the terms of service that they have the right to terminate the contract legally anytime. They can just remove your access. Which, this is why a lot of people frown upon PC play, because, we don't actually have a disc copy of the game anymore. We're just paying for a, license in order to access the title, which can be revoked anytime. Which, still, though, I don't know why I jumped out of my car just then. Alright. Oh, there we go. I'm so used to St. Road's game being Y on the controller, and yeah, I know, I play controller on PC. Make fun of me all you want. That's what my friends do all the time. Go ahead and make fun of me. Oh, you're trash, you're not a real PC player if you use controller. I'm used to it. Well, anyway, this whole Ubisoft thing's fucking crazy. And another thing that was really bad was people thought they were going to lose complete access to AC Liberations, which, as you know, is a it's a spinoff. Well, not really a spinoff, but it's, not a mainline game, but it still is a game. I never really played that much of it, but I do know you play as a female assassin during the same era as the AC3 game is set in, which is the American Revolution and all that good stuff. So, for what I understand, it's a very popular game, and they thought, and it is considered DLC, well, I believe it was, but Ubisoft did come out and say that you would still have access to that specific title, which is good. It's good that they're making sure that we have, it's awesome that we still have access to our titles, but I still feel like it's, just complete BS that we're not allowed to access DLC we've paid for. Like, imagine, like, and the people who defend it are the worst people. Like, dude, you do realize that when you defend these shady actions by a shitty company, eventually what's going to happen is 10 years from now, they're going to decommission a game like AC Odyssey. Hell, AC Odyssey doesn't really even have a multiplayer mode from what I realize. Now, I know you can make maps and stuff, but, like, what's going to happen in, like, 10, 20 years, like, a lot of us, like, I know myself, I paid over $100 for the Ultimate Edition of that game because, the AC collection is one of my most favorite game titles of all time. It's one of the... It means a lot to me. Ever since I was a small boy, I played the AC games. And just, I worry about my DLC being just taken from me because of some clause in the agreement. Now, I don't know how it would affect consoles, but I'm pretty sure if you have it digitally downloaded, it probably still wouldn't work on consoles, but I know definitely it probably won't work on DLC play. Now, I have AC3 Remastered installed on my PC, along with the Tyranny of George Washington, which is the DLC for the game, which I just got to actually play recently. So I'll wait till September 1st and actually let you guys know, like, if I'm still able to access the DLC, and I'm pretty sure you'll see a bunch of other posts from people if it's working or not, so, so I'm not the only person who will probably be doing it, but, if you see me posting that day, shout out, give it a like, complain in the comments with me, but, I mean, we really just need to stand up and say something. We don't need to just sit around and do nothing and let them just take our precious DLC from us, you know what I mean? Like, why don't we just... I don't know, like, why don't we just make our aggressions known and let them know our feelings? I know they're a multi-million, probably billion-dollar gaming company, and we're just a bunch of their consumers, but, I feel like if we really take a stand and, like, really voice our anger, maybe they'll at least acknowledge, apologize, or, maybe they will let us keep the DLC, but, that's mainly why I like Steam the most, is because, Steam doesn't really have a track record of doing something that bad, which, like, I've played Left 4 Dead 2 since I was young. It's one of the first games I played too, and I don't know, guys, I'm just pissed off about it. I really don't know what to say. It's my first commentary video I've ever made, and it just really annoys you. But anyway, if you're really confused about what's going on, I'll put up an article right now it should be, it's MSN, I believe, which I believe that's mainstream news or whatever the hell that's called, but anyway, here's what the article says. I'll read it for you if you can't read. I'll read a little bit of it. According to an initial report published by Forbes, Ubisoft started removing some of its games and their retrospective DLCs from Steam, making them unavailable for sale, stating the game won't be accessible as of September 1st, 2022. This includes access to games that have previously bought the games through Valve's digital storefront, for example, the entirety of Assassin's Creed Liberation, which was on sale for 75% off, which will be removed, and players were told their purchases would be effectively deleted in less than 2 months. That's also another thing I saw a bunch of people that were raising complaints about, was the fact that, the Steam Summer Sale just happened like a few weeks ago, and a lot of these games that were no longer going to be able to be bought on Steam were being sold for, like around, I think, like $4 or $5 a piece. Like AC Brotherhood was on sale for like $6, $6.99 or something. But still, that's $8 or $10 after tax, depending on where you live. That's somebody. A lot of people really don't have money right now. The economy's really bad. And people, spend a lot of their hard-earned money on their games, and like, imagine you're working hard and finally a game you really like's on sale on Steam and you buy it, and then a few months later you're not able to access it. Like, what is that? It's crazy. But also that's really shady marketing that, like, they're allowing these games to be sold out, and then they're ripping people off, like $10 each, which, you might say, oh, that's like nothing, $10 is really nothing, but think about it, if like 5 people bought that game for $10, that's $50 they've stolen so far, and imagine like hundreds of people buying it, and eventually it becoming like, thousands of dollars they basically sold, no telling like how much money they've made off these games, and, people, many content creators have made a bunch of content for years. Like, I remember watching people like the Aussie Gamer who would upload videos like, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood multiplayer Let's Plays, and they would go into the multiplayer and be doing that, And you just really miss the point. But then it goes on to state, like, just general facts about it and stuff like, hold on, let me... Sorry guys, I know I'm coughing up right now, but it's just how I am. What's even worse is Ubisoft hasn't issued a single statement regarding any form of compensation for those who have recently bought their games. Steam, on the other hand, has a refund policy. See, that's the problem, is like, people are wondering if they're going to get their money back once they no longer have access to their DLC. Which, I completely understand. Like, if I bought something and then I was no longer able to have access to it, I would want to make sure that I'm able to get my money back if I can no longer access it. Steam does, of course, have their policy, but that's... You have to have it for less than 14 days from the initial purchase and less than 2 hours of playtime within the game, and then you can refund it. Which Steam... I don't know if they'll update their policy for that. I know Steam is usually pretty generous with their refund policy, so, that's good news that at least Steam may give you your money back to people who are not aware. But if you are not aware, please do not buy some of these games on Steam yet. Please save your money. I would recommend buying them on a console version with a disc if you really want to play these games. I mean, don't get me wrong, AC Brotherhood, AC3, the original Assassin's Creed, they're masterpieces. They're some of the best games ever made, and some I will forever hold in my heart as favorite games from 10 years ago that I played, and I'll never forget them. And I've played them from the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One, PS5, and now to my PC, which I just got a year or two ago. And it's really heartbreaking that Ubisoft would do this. Now, keep in mind, I am not a legal professional. Do not take anything I say as legal fact. Now, I do not know if it's really within the legal ramification or really their legal obligation, or if they have the right as the holder to do it. But I feel like there should be something from a consumer's rights standpoint to where they can't just blindly steal our products like that, and since we paid for them. And people, PC is like known as like, I know I suck at this game. I keep clicking the wrong buttons to make fun of me all you want. Feel free to rip me in the comments for my bad driving and always jumping out of the vehicle. I'd be an awful Batman, but it's like, it's like some YouTubers out there, specifically, like, I remember this one case where this guy had a Patreon goal and, like, a goal on Twitch where if they donated, like, so much money that he would upload some videos of an old project that he did with his buddies, and he hit the goal, and then he said, oh, it was a trailer, nothing like that, blah, blah, blah. Like, typical false advertising and just blindly stealing from his fans. In a lot of ways, you can compare that to what Ubisoft is doing right now, but on a much grander, larger scale. And, like, how long before other game companies start doing this? Like, we all know EA is, like, the king of, and, like, the prime definition of what you would teach other companies how to be a bad gaming corporation, or bad corporationism and corporalism in general. But, you wouldn't expect that of games, but, like, we're seeing I feel like a lot of degrading of gaming companies have been going on lately. Like, with Rockstar, like, their whole thing with killing Red Dead Online in favor of microtransactions for GTA Online. Yeah, that's becoming just prime EA material. Like, that's like something only EA would do, Rockstar, though. Rockstar. There is an A. It's Star, so, I'd watch out for that. But, like they say about Val, I was trying to make a joke, like, the whole, you can't spell Val without EA, like, when the whole Left 4 Dead craze was going on. But, I really do have hope for some upcoming games this season, but I feel like gaming companies in general have been getting bad the last few months, like, ever since the pandemic started. Like, with whole, like, Cyberpunk 2077 and its bad launch, disappointing titles, like, Watch Dogs Legion was really disappointing, and just all sorts of stuff. You have these titles, and they're just it's a lot like Cyberpunk 2077. I just hope like GTA 6 is good, and I know there's been a whole bunch of complaints about that game, about it being too woke, or it shying away from the dark humor that made all the other games great. Now, that's a whole nother video for another time, and I'll give my whole opinion on that another time, or some other day, whatever. But, like I say, like the whole Ubisoft thing, that's like a bigger thing than like, game companies that were once the pinnacle of the gaming industry, turn out into piles of shit, making EA basically the king, because all of them are following in the footsteps of EA. They value money over their consumers' happiness, which is completely awful in my opinion. I mean, of course, profits are, key. They're obviously the most important. I'm not stupid. I mean, I know how business works, but if you literally cared about your audience and the people who paid for you to have that money, if you actually put out worthy titles, and, if you kept things like GTA Online and, had them as a separate entity, but still kept putting in hard work to other games, you would have an even bigger return on investment. Like, GTA 5 is one of the best-selling titles of all time. So, if they put in a bunch of work and made it so exciting, if they make another masterpiece, and I know you can't, not everything could be not every game could be a masterpiece. I know that better than anything. And, what do I know? I'm a YouTuber with, like, not even 20 subscribers, and I'm on here acting like some big commentator, but, I just feel like there's... I know the world's hard right now, and I know they value their employees, which is good, but, at the same time, you need to make it to where, you put out products and give your employees something to work on. Because eventually, if they make something great and they can be a part of that, and then that can be their resume, they can move on to bigger, better things. Like, the fact that they can have their name on, like, a masterpiece of a game, they go to any other gaming studio, or years later work up to a rank of a manager or something, they can end up, being one of the... They can end up being recognized. And I feel like a lot of gaming developers out there want to make the best title for their game, and they care about their audience, but these big game industry leaders who only care about profit and don't care about the fans, they want to maximize profit while littling cost. And that puts a strain on the game developer. The game developer has a greater vision for the game, That's why I like small game studios like Hello Games, for example. Like, they've always worked hard. Now, I know there's a whole lot of stuff about when it first came out, but they have one of the greatest redemption arcs in history. Really, and honestly, they have, like, one of the greatest anime comebacks of all time. Top 10 anime comebacks of all time. You talk about it, and I just really wish more game studios would follow in the footsteps of this tiny little game studio. And honestly, they've done more than all the other games. And, They're not locking away content like Ubisoft. They're not focusing solely on microtransactions and killing an online service that could have so much potential like Rockstar is. And, you know, but also, if Rockstar really, and a lot of people say, oh, they care about Red Dead Online, and I'm like, well, PC has the potential to be the largest platform ever. Why don't they invent like a decent anti-cheat? Does that cost too much money or too much effort to make? I'm seriously curious, Like, Rockstar anti-cheat is one of the worst anti-cheat. Hell, you shouldn't even call it an anti-cheat. You should just call it hey, there's no security on this, please hack me immediately. Anybody who's ever played GTA Online on PC for more than 30 minutes has seen somebody spawning in tankers, blowing somebody up, kicking somebody, grabbing your IP. This little 12-year-old will be like, I got your IP, boy. I'm gonna hack you for life, baby girl. You know how it is. The little 12-year-olds who think they're hackers because they get your IP, even though you're... That's another thing. If you use GTA Online on PC, you better play with a VPN, or just don't play it at all. I'm not like an expert on it, but there's a lot of other YouTubers who have more of an in-depth and probably better video experience making than I do, and that would be like The Professional. Gypsy was another one. They have great content revolving around the phenomenon and the killing of Red Dead Online. So go check out their channels if you want a more in-depth opinion on like what happened to Red Dead Online. But I guess my final point I'm gonna make here is, if you have plans to become a gaming developer or you want to open up your own gaming studio, be different than Ubisoft, be different than EA, be like Sean Murray at Hello Games. Have a better vision. Care about your consumers, care about your audience, care about your fans the most. Because at the end of the day, if it wasn't for your fans, you wouldn't have the money you have, or the audience, or the community. That's what drives the profits, is the consumer base. And the YouTubers who make out these videos. And I really hope that years later people can look back on this video and say, oh, this guy was an idiot, he didn't know what he was talking about. I really hope that. I really hope people just say, oh, this guy was an idiot, he didn't know what he was talking about, it's just a rough patch. I really do. I really want you to come back years later and be like, oh, this guy didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And the last thing I would want is people to come back to this video and be like, oh, this guy was, speaking the truth and he's seen it before and blah blah blah. I'd rather be wrong than right in this regard. But until then, we can only hope for the future. Gotham Knights comes out in 2 months. Comes out in 2 months before Halloween, so expect to see some gameplay footage from that game, maybe a gameplay first impression. Hopefully the next Outlast is good too. That's a new game that we gotta look forward to. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this rant. I'm sorry if my scripting is terrible. I didn't read any script or anything. I'm just going from the heart here. And I love you guys. Peace out. Subscribe and like for more content. Peace out. Have a blessed day. Peace out, guys.